Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's up, Heat Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. And always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Like usual, I got some guests with me today. First, we got George. Say what's up, George.
What's up, guys?
And then right after that, Richard.
Hey, guys.
And then Nina.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
And then last but not least, the OG female correspondent, Angelina Martel.
What's going on, guys? This episode is long overdue. I'm so glad to be back. Can't wait for this episode.
Yes, sir. So now we got that out of the way. Let's get into today's discussion. Last game, the Miami Heat started their 4-game homestand against the Pacers and beat them by a whopping 29 points. Leading the way, you got Tyler Herro with 26 points, 5 3-pointers, and 5 assists. Duncan Robinson with 26 points and 6 3-pointers of his own. Max Strus with 18 points, 4 3-pointers of his own, 7 rebounds and 4 assists. KZ Okpala with 16 points, which is actually a career high for him, and 3 rebounds as well. Gabe Vincent with 13 points and 4 3-pointers and 3 rebounds. And also an interesting statistic is that UD came into the game and he had a 3-pointer. And this is interesting because this was actually the 6th 3 of his career. To add on, it should also be known that Miami tied a franchise record, I believe, for the most threes in a single game, dropping 22 triples in this win. Also, despite the fact that Miami was down 6 players, including PJ Tucker, who was injured in that prior game against Detroit, Miami was able to snatch the dub, improving the record to 19-13, while currently being placed as the 4th best team in the East. With all that being said, how do you guys feel about this win? Start us off, George.
It is so good to be back in the 305. I swear to God, it feels like we never get any more home games. And to come back and show out with this minimal roster against a really well-constructed roster. I feel really bad for Indiana because of, all the turmoil they're going through. But, it's our time to shine, and we did exactly that. KZ Okpala was brilliant. And this is the first game I can actually say he played a single role really well and stuck to the game plan and excelled. You get 7. What more can we say? He's exactly what we saw in the Summer League when he gets put in the game. But Duncan Robinson and Tyler Herro just took this team to a next dimension, especially with Kyle Lowry just dishing to them. But seeing them evolve as players, especially over this streak of not having the players to compensate for them, has been really refreshing. Because when we do get Jimmy, Bam, Oladipo, Tucker, all these players back, when they all do come back, I can just picture how dominant this team's going to be. Because Duncan, with his prior issues, with his confidence issues, was extremely hard to watch. But this is exactly, sorry, guys. Under these circumstances, which is not ideal for them to excel, but they do it anyway. Duncan shot 60% from 3 yesterday. If you told me 2 months ago or a month ago that Duncan would be shooting 60% from 3 in a game where he was the tied top scorer, I would have called you crazy. People were calling for his head. People were extremely, they were procrastinating. They were scared. So I was one of them. To see him do that's just brilliant. But all the props of this game, regardless of how good Tyler Herro and Lowry and all these good players were, is Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra has taken this team that looks more like a G League roster with it looks like a pro-am game. A couple of good players, a couple of players no one's even heard of if you're not a Heat fan, and turn them into one of the most exciting teams to watch. we live and die by the three, but the ball movement and the defensive construct that Spoelstra's given us, with Lowry as our point guard, is incredible. And I just can't say any more good things about it. So I'm just going to pass it off to the next guy.
Right. What about you, Orchard?
I think it was a great game. Really exciting. I just want to talk about the fact that we've tied our franchise record for most 3-pointers twice now, because in the opening game we hit 22 threes as well, if I'm not wrong. So, I mean, I love to see that, and I feel like everyone did their part in the last game, which is also really nice to see. Robinson, he only scored 6 points against Detroit and Orlando, so to see him, come back and score 26 points was really nice. And I think that's been a bit of a pattern where, he'll have a couple games where he struggles, and the next game he does extremely well, which is exactly what he did here. Max Strus, of course, being really productive. And I mean, he's been probably surprising everyone in the league with the amount of time his name is being mentioned. And Herro just came back. He just came back and he already scored 26 points. That is impressive. Kyle Lowry doing Kyle Lowry things. And I just think that the Heat team has been really good in these last couple of games, which I don't think a lot of us expected with of course, like everyone else has been saying, the depleted roster we're having. It's really impressive. And I think another thing to mention is that we only shot 11 free throws in this game, and we still destroyed the Pacers. The fact that we don't have to rely on free throws that much is really it helps me. I feel like in like a lot of previous games, we need a lot of free throws to keep us in the game, so the fact that we don't have to rely on it anymore is really promising.
Right. I agree 100%. And what about you, Nina?
Well, first of all, we got the win. That's always good. I was really impressed with Kyle. I have been this last week. 8 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, like you said. I noticed one thing in the game. D-Rob was really comfortable with the ball dribbling. As far as dribbling, made a few behind the back dribbles. And that just shows me that he's been getting some confidence in practice. There's a reason why he did that out on the court. He's feeling comfortable right now. With him, Tyler, KZ, all over 60% from three. And they're all our young guys, like you said, stressed before. And that was really exciting to watch. And I'm just looking forward to it for the next game.
Right. And you, Ange?
Like you guys said, it's always great to be back home. I feel like we always perform better when we have the home court advantage, and not just against this team, but I just feel in general. Like I mean, it goes the same for any team that when they have home court advantage, they tend to perform better against other teams. But that's besides the point. I really just want to talk about how Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson both went off last game. And me personally, I was able to experience this game in person as I was at the FTX Arena last night. And I must say, Tyler Herro sure had the arena buzzing with excitement. He went 5 from 8 from 3, 8 from 17 from the field, and overall had 26 points, 1 rebound, and 5 assists. And Duncan Robinson shot 60% from the 3, went 10 for 16 from the field, and had another 26 points. And I must say, Duncan Robinson has been proving himself lately. Like, I think it was Orchard said that he had 6 points against Orlando and Detroit, so he's certainly redeemed himself, and he's making a point that he's slowly coming out of his 3-point shooting slump, which he tends to have at the beginning of the season, and then as time progresses, he gets out of it and then proves everyone else wrong and that he's capable of doing what everyone knows he's great at doing. Haslam also made a debut in last night's game, and like Joel said, he scored his 6th three-pointer of his 18-year-long NBA career, which I kind of find crazy, considering, like I said, how long he's been in the league and how memorable of a player that he really is. But it's always great to see the OG accomplish things such as that. Max Strus, to say the least, he has been a complete and utter blessing for us, especially in the times that we're in with as many players we have out due to injury and protocols. Max Strus has just been a savior, to say the least. But correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure this was his first career start, and he started at the 5, and I'm glad to see the improvements he made. He had 18 points, shot 4 for 12 from 3, and played the most minutes out of everyone. He played 36 minutes, which I find to be pretty impressive. Omer Yurtseven, he played amazing. He had 13 rebounds, which I believe is a career high for him. He absolutely postered Sabonis, which was certainly something exciting and fun to see. And this is kind of irrelevant, but in both Pacers games I've been to, Sabonis has been posted, which I love to see. But just had to throw that in there. But yeah, overall we played great. KZ Okpala played pretty good. I believe someone mentioned he had 16 points, which is his career high in points. So just overall, I'm glad to see how far our team has come. And basically, the Pacers lost to the Sioux Falls Skyforce. I had to throw that in there, but I mean, I can't complain because again, we played amazing. So
Right, 100%. And I know, George, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to go back on the on a point where that Angie made. There's a really big thing going on with Duncan Robinson because before we even realized that he was in this massive rut, and people were giving him all types of stick for it, and it was really sad to see because he was one of our favorite players to get paid and to look like that was terrible. And getting outclassed by Max Strus, which is nothing to be ashamed of, but it's not what you expect from a player that you just paid a whole bunch of money to. So I'm really excited to see what he's turning into, because when you go from being a player that 98% of your shots come off the pick and roll and to pick and pop and also just spot up threes, to then take shots off the dribble, take it to the rim, play make for others, defend at a reasonably good rate. It's really good to see that he's actually making improvements to his game. He got the bag and said to himself, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to keep doing different things. And when you're doing that and the inconsistencies of a team, when there was COVID as well, he's just showing us that he's not just a three-point specialist. He's not just JJ Redick. He's trying to be way more than that. Take shots off the dribble, be special. So I'm just happy to see that was his best game of the season by far. But I don't think he's stopping there. I think you'll see him take way more shots off the dribble, take mid-range jumpers, which he looked good yesterday. It looked really fluid, really good motion. And yeah, I just think that it's time. It was always time for him to have this breakout game. I'm just finally happy that it happened now. But he wouldn't have got this opportunity if there was a rotation where he's sitting out because Tyler Herro's taken all of his minutes off the bench. But I'm just happy to see that he's doing different things and trying different things and being the player that we think he can be.
Right. And I know, Orchard, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, just one quick thing to add here. I think the big thing to see here in this game was that we out-rebounded the Pacers 53-42, which is really key because taking a look at all of our wins and losses, I feel like rebounding is really what's determining our wins and losses. When we're being out-rebounded, we lose. And when we out-rebound the other team, we win. So it was amazing to see that we out-rebounded them in offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, and total rebounds. So something to point out there.
Right. Overall, this game has been probably one of the best games we've seen from this Heat team this year when shorthanded. Like you look at that bench, I mean, we had like 6 guys sitting there in street clothes and we were still able to get that victory. And, I just can't help but be so excited to see what this Heat team will look like when they're healthy, because, I honestly believe that when everyone is at full strength, that this team can win a championship. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks this. It's all about just being patient. And, I've said this in many episodes, we just got to hang on, especially if some of our players might not play the way we want them to. I know yesterday Duncan Robinson had a great game. And in the past, we've been on him, especially because of the slumps he's been on. We just got to be patient with him and all these other guys. So, like I said, we just got to be patient, Heat fans, because we know what this Heat team is capable at full strength. And we know that this is a team that could win a championship if everybody is healthy. So let's continue to be patient. Let's continue to enjoy this ride. And let's move on to this next topic now. So now I want to talk about a recent move that Miami made, as it was announced that the Heat would be signing Zylan Cheatham from the G League on a 10-day contract. To those who wonder why Miami made this move, it was actually announced not too long ago that NBA teams can sign players to hardship type contracts if their team is dealing with the COVID outbreak, thus making this move reasonable. Considering how we've talked about how elite Miami's development system has been in the past, are you guys intrigued by this signing? How do you feel, Orchard?
I'm pretty intrigued by it. It's as you were saying, the Heat, they take in players and we don't know what to expect, but pretty much all the time we're surprised by how well these players are. And so far from what I've seen, he averaged 14 points and 10 rebounds in the G League. And I feel like his rebounding is what we really need. Like how I was mentioning before that when we out rebound other teams, we win. So if we can get his rebounding skills, that would be amazing. He's a good defender. And I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting him to play exactly how he did in the G League in the NBA, of course. But if he can replicate how he's been doing in the G League, I think it would be really good. He's shooting 49% and 43% from the 3-point line. So he looks like a promising player. And if anyone can make this guy play great, it's definitely the Heat.
Right. And you, Nina?
Like he mentioned, he's defensively minded. He's gritty, a rebounder. He's only on a 10-day contract. He's 6'5", 26 years old. I think those are all recipes for Heat culture type players. And I just don't think, them taking a chance on him for 10 days can't hurt.
Right. I agree. And how about you, George?
Yeah, I feel like the front office saw an opportunity to pick up a player that has the skill set that we're looking for, which is a KZ Okpala type player, but he's defensively minded to a point where he excels at just doing one thing really well. When he was at the Pelicans, I actually watched a fair bit of film over the last few days about him. He loves to sit on the low block. He loves to sit there and attract to the opponent to come in, and then he just smothers them, which is fantastic to us. This was done on the back of two things massively. It was the fact that we got out rebounded by Detroit, and the PJ Tucker injury was really impactful. So by bringing a player that really, like, you can kind of replicate what PJ Tucker brings to a lesser extent, I feel like they're doing the right move here. We've got enough guard depth. We've got enough prospects coming out of that position. We needed bigger bodies, and to bring in someone that's 220 pounds, 6'8", it's really important to replenish your stock as much as you can, because if Tucker is out for a significant amount of time, and I mean maybe like 2 weeks, it's not a horrible thing, but it's not horrible if you can replace him. Now, I don't think he'll be ready for the game on Thursday. I feel like he'll be ready for Sunday's game. That's what I was reading before. But yeah, if he can even just defend the low block, do what he needs to do, I think that it's a good addition for the Heat moving forward. If they want to keep him, which I don't think they'll be doing because there's just not enough roster spots to go around. If he does play well, maybe he does take that spot from Garrett. That's the only way I see him staying on the roster for a longer period of time. But he's on a 10-day now. Let's just see what he can do. And yeah.
Right. And I know, Orchard, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, and I feel like this signing is also really important because while we're looking at the fact that we need players because of the amount of players we have on the injury report, I also feel like with the amount of players that are playing right now, because we have such a depleted roster, the amount of minutes everyone's playing has increased. And the last thing we want is for everyone to be extremely exhausted in the second half of the season / the playoffs. I mean, we saw it last season with Jimmy Butler. I mean, this man literally carried our team. There were games where he led us in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Like, I really feel like adding more players takes pressure off of some of our active players on the roster. So, yeah.
Right. I agree 100%. This move, like you said, George, Zylan will probably not be on the roster for that long. But, to have him here, especially as Miami is dealing with their health concerns, it never hurts, especially when it is on a 10-day type contract. So now moving forward, I now want to talk about the Spotlight Heat Player of the Week. So to those who are new to the Heat versus the World podcast, basically the way how this goes is that we take turns in giving our praise to a specific Heat player who has been bowling out this past week. So I don't want to waste any further time. You guys know the drill about how all this works. I'm going to ask Nina, who's your Spotlight Heat Player of the Week?
So this season, averaging 8.3 assists.
Right. And then you, George?
Yeah, you stole that right out of my head. I was going to say Kyle Lowry as well. I thought I was going to be the only one. I just want to elaborate on Nina's point. He's just been the dad to all of the kids that we've got on this roster. He's like the dad that takes you to, here's some money. Go to the shops, enjoy yourself. He could take over offensively. I think he knows he can chuck up. He took 9 shots yesterday. He only made three of them, but he took only 9 shots. Now, on any other roster, when you're battling injuries and COVID-related issues, when there's one player left that should be a starter, and he's taking 9 shots, he'd get blasted. He'd get destroyed. But he knows the drill. He knows what Coach Bo's on about, what he's trying to do. He wants to see these kids succeed. He wants to see Year 7 flourishes player, Tyler, Duncan, players like this. KZ and Gabe. He wants to see these players do it. He passes wide open looks all the time. I see it now. I'm thinking, what are you doing? But then Gabe will be spotting up, from the right corner and just splash. Now that's what he wants to see. Doing this for the team, for the culture, for our development. That's what he's here for. He said it himself. He's not going to be here for a long time. He said he wants to retire in Toronto. He wants to be here to help Jimmy, to win another ring. And the only way he's going to do that is by building the confidence of these younger guys. Because let's face it, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's not running around. He's not chucking up lobs and receiving them and dunking and doing anything like that. But he is fast. He's still fast. He's still really smart. He uses that to his advantage. But yeah, I can't say any more good things about him. I usually go off the track. People usually say to people like Tyler and things like that. But this is the man that is orchestrating all of the offense. So yeah, that's my hot take.
Right. And you, Ange?
For me personally, my Spotlight Player of the Week has to be Gabe Vincent. And with that being said, within the last 4 games, or over the course of the last 4 games, he's averaged 18 points, and 3 of those 4 games were W's, and he was the main contributor, if not one of the main contributors, points-wise, to those victories. And so I'm not going to lie, last season I was one of those Gabe Vincent doubters, and I was like, oh, Gabe Vincent's not all that. I don't know why people see like how he can be good. But then I saw when he played in Nigeria in the Olympics, and this season with the Heat, he's really proved the point for himself, and coming off the bench and even starting, so dominant. And he's really, like I said, he's really made a point for himself. And he's just overall, just like played out of his mind. And I really give him his point. I give him his credit for that.
I agree. And how about you, Orchard?
For me, it's got to be Max Strus. The Strus is loose right now. I mean, he's dropped his career high against Orlando. He's been a great rebounder. And I feel like the one big thing is his three-point shooting is exactly what we need when Robinson is struggling. And I feel like that's a really big thing. I feel like the start of the season when Robinson was starting with his threes, we were having a lot of trouble because now no one else on the team could really hit threes. But with Strus playing more minutes, he's shown that if Robinson's struggling, he can take over the three-point shooting. And, it's not just three-point shooting. He can do more than that. He can shoot twos. He can drive. I think he's a very smart player, and he's a great rebounder. So I just think he's been really impressive in the past couple of games, and I hope he continues to do so.
Right. And you know what? For me, when it comes to Spotlight Heat Player of the Week, you guys made up some good choices. I'm kind of mad at you, Orchard, because I was about to say Max Strus. But since we already touched on him, if I have to pick, I'll go with KZ. Why not? And the reason why is because, the KZ slander has been insane. So to see him play amazing defense while also getting some buckets himself, it's really such a satisfying thing. Will he be the next Giannis Antetokounmpo? I don't think so, but I still think he could be a great piece to this rotation, and that's all we need. So, anyways, I don't want to waste too much time on that. If you have a Spotlight Heat Player of the Week of your own, feel free to comment down below if you're watching this on the 5 Reasons Sports Network YouTube channel. We'd love to hear who you guys think is the Spotlight Heat Player of the Week. So now that we got that out of the way, as you guys know, Christmas is coming up very soon. And after watching how the Heat have played so far in the first 32 games of the season, what's on your Miami Heat Christmas wish list? Tell us, George.
I don't even know anymore because I don't want anything except for what I've been seeing. Now, in an ideal world, I'd ask for Santa to bring me, the instant injury healing potion to get Jimmy and Bam back. But as I'm seeing it right now, this is the best course of this team. Before the All-Star break, before the season starts getting serious, when we talk about seeding and things like that, I won't ask for anything, but if I had to ask for something, it'd just be that Bam comes back healthy and all the players come back in their original states, and especially with Victor Oladipo, I just want Indiana All-Star Oladipo. I want him to take that to battle Duncan for that starting spot, and give us a run. Give us something that we've been missing.
Right, and you, Ange?
Yeah, similar to what George said, just everyone coming back healthy, just injuries healing between Oladipo, Bam with his recent surgery, Jimmy, PJ, just hoping they come back healthy in time for the games that matter most, and the players who are in protocols like Caleb Martin, and just players overall, just throughout the league, not just in Miami, but just throughout the league, to just come back healthy, and hopefully the Heat players that are out right now can make a bigger comeback when they finally return from their injuries or come out of protocols. And just, I know we don't play on Christmas this year, which I still call BS for the NBA not making us play on Christmas this year, but hopefully we can win the next game or the game the day after against the Magic. So that's something that I hope comes true on my Christmas wish list.
Right, and you, Orchard?
I feel like I have the same exact thing as everyone else. I really want everyone to just rest and get healthy. I think we all miss seeing our favorite players, Bam, Jimmy, Oladipo, Tucker. I mean, I'm just hoping everyone's healthy. And the other thing I want to wish for is that with the amount of players that have been put into protocols, I just don't want to see any more players going on to the protocols from our team. Caleb Martin is, I'm not sure if he's out or not. But I'm just hoping that no more players from our team are going to be put into protocols, because we've seen in the league that games are being canceled. We saw the Raptors versus Bulls game just got canceled because of the amount of players out with COVID. So, I'm just hoping that our players don't be put into protocols. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
And you, Nina?
Like everybody else, health, of course, but specifically Depot. I'm interested to see how he's going to come back, and I'm really excited because if we get, 90% or 85% of Depot, it's just going to be a real helpful thing for us. So that's my wish for Christmas, or my list.
I agree, and I know, George, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, I want to be selfish and ask for 2 presents. So I want one more present, and that's, if we can make a trade, I want Jeremy Grant on this team ASAP, as soon as possible. Now, the reason why I say this is because he fills 2 needs massively. If PJ Tucker does go down, which, touch wood, that won't happen again, especially when we need him, there's no one on this roster including who we just added, to do what he does. There's no one. Now, he brings defensive tenacity. He even brings an offensive spark at times, like with a really, really, really good spot-up three-point shooter from the corner. But if we were to get someone like Jeremy Grant now, I feel like if there was a trade to be made, we'd be losing someone like Oladipo or Duncan, which would not be ideal. And it probably will never happen. But if there was a way to get him on this roster, I would take it in an instant.
Right. I agree 100% with you on that because obviously, we want to see this team improve. Like, Jeremy Grant is an interesting name because I don't think we've talked too much about transactions so far in this season of Heat versus the World. But you know what? I mean, Jeremy Grant is definitely an interesting name. And to add on, I mean, what you guys have been saying so far, having this Heat team be healthy, I mean, that's a huge thing, because like I said earlier in this episode, a Miami Heat team that's fully healthy, in my opinion, can win the championship because, and obviously I got my respect towards Milwaukee and what they did last year, and I got my respect towards Brooklyn, but this Heat team just looks so stacked, and all these games have done is just continue to solidify that point because even without our main guys, without Jimmy Butler, without Bam Adebayo, without all of these people, we're still able to kick these guys' butts, and that's amazing, in my opinion. Like, and it just shows how great of a coach we got in Eric Spoelstra and how dangerous this team truly is. Like, the fact that you're getting beaten by the Sioux Falls Skyforce, like you said, Ange, earlier, like, that's very concerning. And you know what? I'll take this team over any other team in the NBA any day. And I understand, like I said, the Bucks, the Nets, and you can also throw in the Warriors too. I got my respect for those teams. But, the Miami Heat, I mean, right now, like, what was it that Stephen A. Smith said? Something is brewing in South Beach. That's exactly what's happening. So I just can't wait for everyone to be healthy. And I just can't stress that enough. So we covered a lot on today's episode, you guys. And now I want to focus on the final topic for today. And that is the Heat Pistons game, which is coming up soon. The last time these two teams played, which was literally this past Sunday, by the way, the Heat ended up falling to the Pistons on the road, which ended up causing the Pistons to snap their 14-game losing streak. After watching how that last meeting went, do you guys see Miami handling business this time? Give us your take, George.
Sorry, I think that this is going to be the revenge game that we think it's going to be. Now, people know me, I don't make predictions on this pod ever since the Celtics thing, but this should be a game where we go and we show them that, the last time was a fluke. We're going to go in there with a peak confidence. We're still at home. We're sitting there. We'll be ready. We'll be ready for anything they can bring. Like I said, I don't think that our new signing will be ready by this time. But if Omega 7 can really step up and guard the likes of Stewart and bring that toughness that we need when guarding these types of players, not get our rebounded by their guards again, then this should be a really good game. This should be Duncan doing his thing, Tahira doing his thing, Lowry feeding them. This should be nothing different than what we saw against Indiana, but it's easier said than done when we tie the franchise record for threes made. But if we can do it, then it's going to be an exciting game, good watch, and the perfect Christmas gift.
Right, 100%. And how about you, Ange?
Honestly, I'm confident going into tomorrow's game, but our last Sunday's game is a perfect example of you can never let your guard down regardless of the team you play, no matter how bad they are. I'm pretty sure we gave them their 5th win, and like you said, we snapped their 13-game losing streak or 14-game losing streak. And I just hope, like, considering how we played yesterday and how amazing we played considering the players we had. I mean, then again, it's the Pacers, but like I just said, you can't let your guard down with any team. But I'm confident going into this game tomorrow. And like I said earlier, and towards the beginning, we have home court advantage, and we tend to perform better when that's in our possession. So overall, I'm confident going into tomorrow's game and hoping we can redeem ourselves from Sunday's game versus the Pistons. And we get to see Heat legend Kelly Olynyk again. That's so fun. So.
Oh wait, no. Kelly actually won't be playing, unfortunately.
Oh,
But
well.
yeah.
I take it back. Sorry.
And how about you, Nina?
I think we'll be okay, but I do think that considering who we have out, Tyler and Robinson will need to shoot well, and I think that if they shoot well, we have a good chance of winning. Our bench minutes will be key because a lot of the guys that are usually on the bench are starting, and so the next man in line need to step up.
Right, 100%. And how about you, Orchard?
Just like Angie was saying, this time we have home court advantage and we do a lot better at home. Key, obviously, is that we don't want to get out-rebounded. We got out-rebounded last game, 47-39, which is obviously a huge issue. We have to do a better job rebounding. I feel like when we lost PJ Tucker, it kind of killed our momentum in the game too. So hopefully we don't face any injuries in this game tomorrow, or not tomorrow. But I feel like one big difference is that we have Tyler Herro back. We didn't have him last time, and I feel like he's going to make a big difference. He made a big difference in the last game against the Pacers with his 26 points. So, obviously it's like everyone has been saying, don't underestimate the Pistons because we saw what happened last time. But if we can just play how we've been playing for the last couple of games, I think we'll be in good shape.
Right, I agree. And you know what? I also see the Heat winning. The Pistons, they had a lot to fight for in that last game because when you're on a 14-game losing streak, you got nothing to lose and you're just trying to win whatever game you can at that point. So, they got lucky and they were able to pull one from us. So now that they got their win, congratulations. Now it's time to show you what we really about. And that's what we're going to see in this upcoming game from the Heat. So now that we got that out the way, we basically covered so much. And before we end today's episode, I first want to acknowledge a huge milestone for the Heat vs. the World podcast, as last Saturday marked the 1-year anniversary of the creation of this pod. I want to thank God for allowing us to accomplish so much in this first year, while also thanking those who supported us since day one, as this would not have been fun without y'all's ongoing support. I promise you all that there's more to come, so stick around and see what happens. Also, for more Heat vs. the World content, feel free to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HVTW Podcast, while checking out our website at hvtwpodcast.wordpress.com. Furthermore, make sure to check out Heat vs. the World's newest extension show, Culture Shock, which is the first Miami Heat podcast to feature an all-women's cast. They will be dropping an episode very soon, so stay tuned and feel free to follow them on Twitter at CLTRShockPod. Anyways, thank you all for listening to today's episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast, and we'll see you very soon with more new content. Have a Merry Christmas, and just like that, we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.